By the way, when you include people, it almost always means excluding them. Mark Cuban has decided that the national anthem can no longer be played before any home game in Dallas.
On last night's broadcast, a staunch white supremacist gave his take.
Listening to the community, there were quite a few people that voiced their concerns, or really their fears, that the national anthem did not fully represent them.
On Mark Cuban's silent decision to not play the national anthem prior to home games.
Mark Cuban is a billionaire. He owns the Dallas Mavericks, the NBA team. Like other NBA owners, Mark Cuban makes a lot of his money in China.
So, as he always does,
takes a different position. He's disgusted by it. He wants to take a knee. That's how awful this country is.
Tucker, the fan favorite of Nazis in this country, blames everyone but Rupert Murdoch's own agenda.
During the first preseason game, we decided to not play it and just see what the response was.
I can tell you the response. It was nothing. Republicans didn't notice until a report from The Athletic.
But Mark seems to have adopted this idea, and it's totally dictated by the terms of the left.
So here comes Will Cain, who once said,
I mean, I don't want to be inflammatory here, but it's like a suicide bomber.
A football player was akin to a terrorist. But when the Capitol happened,
and now the people who committed a horrendous act on January 6th are being described as terrorists. If you inflate language like this, if you continually push the bar out, what you do is you allow any manner of response, any manner of sin.
Well, when it's white people, they're just good old Americans. Point being, Will Cain is the epitome of Lil Weenus energy. So look, Mark Cuban did this without anyone noticing. We're a third of the way through the NBA season. Where was the outrage from conservatives? Guy who thinks black lives don't matter, Will Cain, spews this nonsense mocking lefties in this country.
That the United States, its symbols are divisive, that we see the worst in America, and therefore we must cancel.
Nope, cancel. Republican buzzword, drink.
All of these symbols that the rest of us see as our aspirations and our unifying factors.
Oh, there's another drink for unity.
We got to stop with this notion that gestures and symbols is a form of patriotism. Actions, deeds make you a patriot. Just because you fly the flag over your house doesn't make you a patriot. Just because you drink Budweiser doesn't make you a patriot. I've never met anyone that says, man, I'm going to that sporting event. Once I hear the national anthem, I'm dipping.
And yet here we are. Cuban was met with sheer force from the right-wing ecosphere, and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver gave in, stating all teams will play the national anthem in keeping with long-standing league policy. Part of the force came from the state of Texas, with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, as radical as they come, insisting Cubans sell the team. Former Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy chalked it up as a decisive win for Xi Jinping, for those keeping score at home. Let's be clear, Mark Cuban is a globalist, blah, 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 not a patriot, blah, blah, blah. It was relentless, probably because there's this thing called impeachment going on, and conservatives just really need a solid distraction. Cuban created a conversation as opposed to the NBA doing it, so could it be it's the how and not the actual principle? If not, Silver kowtowed to an enemy who isn't paying him much mind right now, a treasonous crowd that drapes its betrayal in a flag, assigning a value that is only as valuable as those in power allow it to have. To the extent that the anthem is an issue for the league, it's one that is now cloaked in utter confusion. Does the NBA really think the anthem is important, or do they just not want to risk whatever consequences might come from being the first sports league to get rid of it? We know the answer to that. The middle crowd is always growing, and the NBA could still get a piece of the growing pie by pressing just a little bit more, or by doing the right thing and acting in the best interests of its players, who clearly feel the words of the anthem don't apply to them. Perhaps Silver, ever the optimist, is showing the side of a pragmatist, or maybe even a pessimist. Maybe he knows deep down this country will never live up to the ideals it purports itself to be with its relation to black people.